The first time Kale saw her, she was kneeling in the ash circle with iron around her wrists and rain running red from a cut above her brow. No one in the Stonefang clan looked at prisoners for long. Looking humanized them. Humanized things became difficult to kill. Kale looked anyway. The torches around the circle hissed under the storm. Elders stood with carved masks and wolf-bone staffs. Children watched from behind shield walls, pretending not to be afraid. The drums were slow tonight, the judgment beat. 3 strikes, pause, 3 strikes. The woman in chains lifted her head at each strike, as if counting breaths. State the charge, Elder Var said, voice hard enough to chip flint. A raider shoved the prisoner forward. Border crossing, theft of winter grain, assault on sentries. Murmurs, grain theft in snow season was worse than blood feud. You could forgive a blade in a hot moment. You did not forgive hunger. She is river-born, someone spat, using the old insult for valley people. Let the pit take her. Kale's jaw tightened. He knew that voice, Bran, captain of the Eastern Watch, broad shoulders, easy cruelty, the same Bran who once broke a boy's fingers for dropping a spear. Elder Var raised a carved hand. The law is clear, no outsider steals from Stonefang and lives, dawn execution. The woman finally spoke, voice rough from cold and dust. I stole food for children. Var didn't blink. Not ours. She laughed once, bitter and tired. No, not yours. A stone flew from the crowd and struck her cheek. She flinched but did not bow her head again. Kale felt the old burn behind his ribs, the one that never left since the red winter when his own little sister had starved while the elders counted sacks and called it rationing. He should have turned away. He did not. By clan law, mercy for condemned outsiders required unanimous elder vote and blood price from a sponsoring kin house. No one would spend blood for a stranger, not in storm season. Not for grain theft, but as the circle emptied and guards dragged her toward the holding pit, she passed near Kale's post by the palisade and whispered without looking at him. Your people are being lied to. He froze. The guard yanked her chain. Move. She stumbled, then caught herself. The grain stores are rotting from beneath, she said, barely moving her lips. Bran knows. Kale stared after her until rain blurred her into shadow. Kale slept badly and woke before moonset. He told himself he was only checking the storehouses because duty required it. He told himself many things and believed none. The clan's grain halls sat half dug into the hill, stone-faced and sealed with cedar beams. 2 sentries stood outside, cloaks pulled high. Night audit, Kale said, flashing his hunter's token. Didn't hear of one guard muttered. Because Var doesn't trust loose tongues. That did it. Fear of being seen as disloyal was stronger than caution. They let him through. Inside, darkness smelled of straw and old harvest. Kale lifted a lamp and walked between stacked bins. At first glance, everything looked sound, dry sacks, stamped seals, neat rows. Then he saw it, black dust near a corner post. He crouched, pinched it, rubbed it between fingers, not dust, mold spores. He opened a lower hatch. A sweet, sick smell rolled out, wet rot hidden under good grain packed on top. His stomach turned. 1 bin, then 2, then 6. Someone had layered healthy stock over ruined stores, creating the illusion of abundance. If winter stretched even a month, Stonefang would collapse. Kale stood very still in the dark, lamp shaking in his hand. Why hide this? Answer came quick as lightning. Control. Panic broke clans. Fear made people obey. He thought of Bran calling for execution before anyone asked questions. He thought of the woman whispering in chains. When Kale reached the door, both sentries were gone, and Bran waited in the rain. You hunt strangely at night, Bran said. Kale kept his face flat. I was asked to check seals. By whom? Elder Var. Bran stepped closer. You're a poor liar, wolf son. Kale hated that name from Bran's mouth. His mother had died birthing him. His father had died in border war. Wolf son sounded like mockery when Bran said it. Bran's gaze dropped to Kale's fingers, black mold still under one nail. A smile touched Bran's mouth. Ah! The rain got colder. You saw what you were not meant to see, Bran said softly. So here is your choice. Keep silent and keep breathing. And if I do? Bran's smile widened. Then by dawn you'll kneel beside the thief. Kale wanted to lunge to put his knife into that smiling throat, but Bran stood with two shadows at his back, hands near axes. Kale forced himself still. Understood. Bran patted his shoulder like a friend. Good hunter. At dawn, the execution circle filled faster than prayer hour. The prisoner stood at the center post, wrists ray-bound, wind whipping dark hair across her face. A bruise purpled her jaw. She watched the crowd as if memorizing each person. Kale stood among spear ranks, every muscle tight. Var raised his staff. By law and witness, stop! The word cracked across the circle. Kale stepped forward before fear could catch him. Gasps rippled through the clan. Var's eyes hardened. Hunter Kale, explain yourself. Kale knelt by form, then stood before being told, half defiance, half necessity. I invoke blood right. The crowd exploded. Blood right was ancient, rarely used, and almost never for outsiders. It allowed a warrior to claim a condemned life under personal oath, taking all consequence onto himself. Var's face went pale with anger. You would spend your line for a thief. I would spend my life to demand full hearing. On what grounds? Kale met Bran's stare across the circle. On grounds that the charge is incomplete and that the clan has been deceived. Silence fell like stone. Bran moved first. This is madness from a winter-starved head. The thief poisoned him with lies. Kale did not look away. Then let the stores be opened before judgment. Var hesitated. Elders hated uncertainty in public, but refusing inspection now would look guilty. Finally, he snapped, open them. A squad ran, minutes stretched. Wind moaned through antler banners. The prisoner swayed, exhausted, then straightened again when Kale glanced her way. The squad returned with two open sacks and one look that told the truth before words did. Mold, the lead guard said hoarsely. Deep rot under surface stock, in multiple bins. The circle erupted, shouts, curses, panic. Var slammed his staff for silence. Who managed grain rotation? Bran answered quickly, Storemaster Head. Head has been dead 12 days, Kale cut in. You reassigned keys. All eyes turned. Bran's hand went to axe hilt. Careful, boy. Kale took one step closer to the center post. You hid spoilage and blamed outsiders to keep control. Bran laughed, but it rang hollow. And you think I rotted half the hill alone? Kale heard the confession inside the boast. Var heard it too. Elder Sheera, oldest of them all, spoke from behind her bone mask. Lock Bran pending elder trial. Bran moved faster than thought. He grabbed a nearby child from front ranks, little Toma, 7 winters old, and yanked him forward, axe at his throat. Screams split the air. No one moves, Bran snarled. I walk out or the pup bleeds. Kale saw everything at once, distance, mud slick, Bran's left knee-old injury, Toma's trembling legs, wind direction for ash throw from brazier. He also saw the prisoner watching him, eyes sharp despite chains, tracking the same angles. Kale inhaled once. Then he kicked the brazier. Ash and sparks blasted sideways into Bran's face. At the same moment the prisoner spun, slammed her chain around Bran's axe wrist and dropped her weight. The blade jerked away from Toma's throat. Kale lunged. Knife flashed. Bran roared. They hit the mud hard. Bran was heavier, brutal up close, elbow crushing Kale's mouth, blood filling his teeth. Kale drove his knee into Bran's damaged leg. Something popped. Bran howled. Guards piled in and tore them apart. When Kale staggered up, Toma was alive and crying in his mother's arms. The prisoner stood panting, chain burn on both wrists, eyes bright with pain and fury. Var pointed his staff at her. She aided a Stonefang in circle combat, unbound her. A guard cut her chains. Name, Var demanded. She lifted her chin. Lyra of Reedville. Why cross our border? Lyra's gaze swept the crowd. Because Bran's riders burned our lower fields and took our stored grain. We sent envoys. None returned. My people were starving. Murmurs turned to outrage. This wasn't theft, it was reprisal wrapped in silence. Var looked older in that moment. If this is true, it is, said a new voice. All turned. A limping rider entered through the outer gate, cloak torn, face gaunt. Kale's breath caught. Joran, Joran, scout of Eastern Watch, presumed dead in a landslide 2 weeks ago. He dropped to one knee before elders. I carried Reedville's envoy tokens, Joran said, voice ragged. Bran intercepted us at Black Ford, killed 2, left me for dead in ravine. He held up blood-stained bronze medallions, peace markers from Valley clans. No one spoke. Then Elder Shira removed her mask, revealing a face like old bark and winter sun. By witness and token, Captain Bran stands accused of murder, theft, and treason against Stonefang. Bran, pinned in mud with arms bound, spat blood. You weak fools, fear keeps wolves loyal. Shira's stare could have frozen rivers. No. Justice does. They should have ended there. But truth rarely finishes clean. By nightfall, Bran's loyalists struck. Kale was in the healer's hut getting his split lip stitched when horns blared from western wall, 2 long, 1 broken, breach signal. He was running before healer could curse him back to bed. Fire arrows arced over palisade. Shadows poured through opened side gate. Someone on inside had lifted the bar. Bran's men plus hired blades from border caravans, faces masked with soot. Chaos swallowed the square. Kale found Lyra near the well, fighting with a short spear she'd taken from a fallen raider. She moved like river current, economical, precise, merciless when required. Gate, she shouted. They're trying to seize the grain hill. Of course they were. Control food, control people. Kale ducked a swinging mace, drove his shoulder into attacker's ribs, then yelled to Lyra, "With me?" They cut through smoke and screaming toward the hill path. Twice Kale almost lost her in the press. Twice she reappeared at his flank like a shadow with steel. At the lower switchback, they hit a barricade of overturned carts. Behind it, Bran himself stood free. Someone had cut his bonds during the assault. Leg braced, face bruised, eyes mad bright. He laughed when he saw Kale. "There's my bleeding hero." Kale raised his axe. "This ends tonight." Bran spread his arms. "It began years ago, boy. Elders ration, children die, and we bow to rules carved by dead men. I did what was needed. You murdered envoys. I prevented weakness. You burned villages. I fed warriors." Lyra stepped beside Kale, spear tip steady. "You fed your ambition." Bran's gaze flicked to her, contempt twisted with old hatred. "Valley rat." He whistled sharply. Hidden archers rose behind rock berms. Kale dragged Lyra down as arrows hissed overhead. One thudded into Kale's shoulder. Hot pain exploded. He gritted his teeth and kept moving. "Can you run?" Lyra asked. "Can you stab?" She gave a feral half-smile. Always, they split. Kale charged left to draw archers, using burning cart as cover. Lyra slipped right through smoke, low and fast. Bran tracked Kale, not her. Mistake. Kale vaulted debris and slammed into Bran. They crashed against stone post, weapons locked. Bran was stronger than pain should allow, rage lending him monstrous force. Kale's wounded shoulder screamed. "You could have ruled beside me," Bran hissed. "Instead you chose a thief." Kale shoved back, breath ragged. "I chose truth." Bran head buted him. Stars burst behind Kale's eyes, then Bran's body jerked. Lyra's spear had punched clean through from behind, just below the ribs, missing spine by a finger width. Bran looked down, baffled, almost childlike, then slumped to his knees. Blood spread black in firelight. He stared at Kale with fading fury. "Clan law," Kale knelt despite everything. "Law isn't your shield anymore." Bran toppled face first into mud. The remaining raiders broke when they saw him fall. Some fled into dark. Some threw down arms. By dawn, Stonefang still stood, burned, bleeding, but standing. The Elder trial lasted 3 days. Bran's surviving captains confessed under oath. Ledger scraps were found in his war chest, diverted grain counts, bribes to gate guards, orders to intercept envoys. Enough to hang 10 men. But clan politics demanded a price for broken law, even when broken for the right reason. On day 3, Kale stood again in Ash Circle, healed shoulder bound, face lined with fatigue. Var read verdicts. Bran declared traitor. His captains exiled or executed. Families of murdered envoys granted restitution. Then Var looked at Kale. You invoked blood right for an outsider before formal proof. You defied command in judgment circle. You acted outside chain of order. Kale kept his voice steady. I did. Murmurs rose, some admiring, some hostile. By strict code, Var continued, the penalty is blood for blood, your blood. Lyra stepped from witness line before guards could stop her. Then take mine too, I fought in your circle and your hill. Var's jaw tightened. Reedville woman, be silent. No, Lyra said, and the word rang like iron. Your law nearly killed the man who saved your child, your food stores, and your clan. If your law demands that payment, then your law is broken. Gasps. A few warriors thumped spear butts in rough agreement. Elder Shira rose slowly. There is precedent, Var frowned. From when? Frost Archive, Year of the Hollow Moon, Shira's voice carried. A lawbreaker saved Stonefang from inner coup, sentence commuted to oath exile, no office, no inheritance, no claim in elder matters, life spared in exchange for lifelong service beyond rank. Var looked cornered, but precedent was sacred currency. He could not deny it openly. Then so judged, he said stiffly. Kale Wolf's son, oath exile. Relief and grief hit Kale together. He would live but never belong fully again. Lyra bowed her head once, fierce and proud. Trial adjourned. Snow came early that year. Kale took a ranger post on the border road exactly as oath exiles often did, useful, distant, unimportant. He rebuilt way stations, escorted trade wagons, hunted wolf packs that trailed refugees south. Word spread quickly in the valleys. Stonefang had purged a traitor and opened guarded trade with Reedville under neutral banners. Suspicion remained, but hunger made practical diplomats of everyone. Lyra became Reedville's envoy captain. The first time she visited Kale's post officially, she arrived with 3 carts of smoked fish, 2 healers, and a written agreement stamped by both Valley Council and Stonefang elders. He read the terms twice. Shared winter granaries, rot inspection by mixed teams, envoy protection under joint oath. Dispute circle with both sides represented. He looked up. You did this. Lyra shrugged, though pride warmed her eyes. We did this. I talked. Joran limped dramatically. Shira terrified everyone. Your name opened doors. My name gets me spat at in half the longhouses, and saluted in the other half. He laughed, surprised by how good it felt. They walked the ridgeline at dusk while her guards made camp below. Snow dusted the pines. Far off, children's voices drifted from the way station, Stonefang and Valley kids arguing over carved bone dice. Do you regret it? Lyra asked quietly, breaking law, saving me. Kale looked across the border that used to feel like a wound cut through earth. I regret that it required breaking anything, he said, but no, never that. She nodded, as if she'd expected exactly that answer. Good, because I need a favor. He groaned. That tone means trouble. It means politics, she corrected. Worse than trouble. From her satchel she pulled 2 sealed letters. One to Elder Shira, one to Var. There are still Bran loyalists hiding among caravan guards. We have names. Kale took the letters. You trust me with this? I trust the man who stepped into an execution circle when every sane person stayed quiet. He slipped the letters into his coat. Sane is overrated. They stood in companionable silence until stars sharpened overhead. Before she left, Lyra touched his forearm, brief and firm. For what it's worth, Kale, clan law wanted your blood. Instead, it got your backbone. He watched her ride down the slope, banners snapping silver in moonlight. Years later, children would hear the story wrong in all the usual ways. Some said Kale slew 50 raiders alone. Others swore Lyra shattered chains with bare hands. A tavern song claimed Bran breathed fire and died cursing 3 kingdoms. Truth was less dramatic and more dangerous. A hungry woman stole grain. A hunter chose to listen. A captain in power mistook fear for strength. And a law built to preserve order was forced, at blade point and terrible cost, to remember why order existed. Kale never became elder, never led a war band, never wore the carved masks in council firelight, but he became something rarer in Stonefang memory, an oathman people trusted when rules and justice stopped matching. When disputes flared at the border, both sides asked for him. When grain inspectors found damp under fresh sacks, they asked for him. When young warriors shouted for blood at insult and old vendettas whispered in the dark, elders sent for him. He would stand in the middle of angry circles, scar visible at his lip, and say the same words every time. "Show me who profits from your rage." It saved lives more often than swords did. As for Lyra, she never stopped crossing the pass, even in brutal winters when horses stumbled knee-deep in white. She carried contracts, medicines, complaints, and occasionally contraband plum wine she denied smuggling. She and Cale argued constantly about tariffs, patrol routes, and whether smoked eel counted as real food. They laughed more than either admitted. They fought side by side twice more against raider bands who preferred chaos to treaties. People asked if they married. They didn't answer. Some bonds don't need naming to reshape the world around them. On the 20th anniversary of Brand's fall, Elder Var, bent now, voice thin, requested Cale in the high hall. Cale climbed the old stone steps he'd once expected never to stand on again. Var sat alone by brazier, bone mask in his lap. Age had stripped him down to something almost honest. "I was wrong," Var said without preamble. Cale waited. "I thought law was a wall, keep it intact and storms pass, but walls hide rot if no one looks beneath." He coughed, winced, continued. "I nearly let fear kill the one man who would save us from ourselves." Cale had carried anger at this man for 2 decades like a hidden blade. He could have twisted it now. Instead, he said, "You changed verdict. That mattered." Var shook his head. "Shira changed it. You forced it." A long silence. Then Var extended the elder mask across the brazier. "Take it." Cale stared. Oath exiles were barred from elder office by ancient code. "Code hasn't caught up," Var said. "Sometimes people must drag it." Cale did not reach for the mask. At length he said, "If I wear that, half the clan calls it corruption, the other half calls it miracle. Both stop listening." Var's tired mouth twitched. "And what do you call it?" Cale looked at the carved bone, then back at the old man. "I call it unnecessary," he stood. "Keep your mask. Send runners when trouble starts. I'll come." At the door he paused. "For what it's worth, Elder, you were right about one thing." Var blinked. "What thing?" "Storms do pass." Cale stepped out into sunlight on snow, where Lyra waited with 2 impatient horses and a map full of new arguments. "Did he finally retire?" she asked. "Not yet." She handed him one rein. "Good, I like yelling at him." They rode down from the hall toward the pass, toward villages and disputes and work that never ended. Behind them, Stonefang's banners cracked in the wind, no longer symbols of unquestioned law, but of a harder promise that no code was above truth, that no rank was above consequence, and that sometimes the one they demand blood from is the only one keeping their future alive.